This is a review of the Nemo Dragonfly 2-person tent. Now, I was hoping to do a fairly significant review of this tent. I've been hiking for years, I've had a number of tents, and the Dragonfly was rated really highly by a number of review websites. I spent a lot of time looking into the various tents at that price range, and the Dragonfly came out on top every time. What I wanted was a spacious tent with 2 vestibules that withstood wind and weather well, and was suitable for taking out on the hills and mountains here in the UK. I managed to get hold of one of these tents, and I took it out to the Peak District last week. The experience that night, unfortunately, wasn't quite at all what I had hoped it to be. In fact, it was a disaster. There's a lot about this tent I really liked. The features in it are brilliant. The storage is excellent, truly excellent. Some great innovations. There's a lot equipment loft in there, which a lot of manufacturers are starting to incorporate now. A lot of storage. The weight was really good. I think it came in at 1.2, something like that. It was very easy and quick to set up, straightforward, really good system. Unfortunately, as you'll see in the video, which will come just after this, it is simply not suitable for English conditions. It wasn't raining that night. The wind was up, but nothing particularly strong for the UK, certainly by the standards I know. But I felt it was important to share my experience with those here in the UK about the tent and what it's like in the actual true conditions of the UK. I mean, here is what's left of it. In here is the inner of the tent. This is great, this bag, by the way. I've got the outer as well over there. It packs up into a full size like that, or it can be compressed down. This fits inside here, and they've got this clever bag that basically goes to that size. You keep the poles elsewhere. Really handy, really great. Some things to say about the tent is that they don't provide you with enough guy lines to guy all the edges out, which are essential, and neither do they provide you with enough ground pegs for those extra guy lines. So I added those myself before I went out on the trip, not a problem. And then you've got the 8 tent pegs there, which hold down the tent to a degree, but they don't hold all of the guy lines. And I've attached those to the tent itself before I went out on my trip. But you only get 3 of those, and there's actually 4 places to attach guy lines. So I don't know why they've only sent out minimal stuff. You might as well send out the whole lot. I mean, if they're going to talk about weight saving, it's such minimal weight saving, I think I'm able to make that decision. What comes in the package is your tent pole and pegs bags, which are extremely light. This is a pole which clips together very nice and easily. It's got string in the middle there, and it just slots in really quickly. That's your horizontal pole, and then here you have the main skeleton of the frame poles, and I'll put those together. Well, actually, I'll show you where I can get to that. I don't have a tent here to set up anymore because it was so badly damaged that it simply disintegrated, and I'm waiting to find out from the company I bought it from. What essentially happened was the wind took down the tent and eventually snapped the poles. So you might think that was a bit of a pointless exercise, and in some ways it was. I was just trying to show you how the frame works, and the fact that the 2 legs at the end here completely collapse, which means the frame won't go up. Anyway, the point is, when the skeleton's together, it makes sense, but it's just clearly not strong enough in some of the most basic winds. And the reason for that is that wind shaft, where the wind goes up inside the fly sheet at the back of the tent, and it creates a sort of almost a tunnel, if you like, which then forces the inner tent to pull against the poles, which then pulls them off that little Velcro strip. So that's the problem here with this tent. It's a design flaw that just needs updating, I suspect. The other major issue is the fact that fly sheet does not come down to the ground. I think that's a real serious error, to be honest with you. It's such a small amount of extra material to put on there that the extra weight is going to be minimal. So again, I think that's a flaw that hasn't been tested in winds, which are probably no more than 20 miles an hour, really. But in the video that's coming up, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Right, here we are. Here's the pole, and in the wind it does that a lot, unless it's hooked on by the Velcro, which comes off really easily. Right, here we are. Here's the top of the tent. Now, if I push this up, there's the frame. I'm now going to push it back up and round, and it should go back up briefly. There you go. See, now it's back up again. Right, but what'll happen in a minute, that wind will blow, here they go, back down again. So that is the issue with this tent. And that is because I've got the guy lines on outside as well, but it's that bit there is not covered fully down the bottom by the rain fly, so the wind catches up, and the only things that hold the tent to the frame that stop this are two Velcro strips, and they are tiny, very difficult to fit on. They come off really easily. This is the third time this has happened. This is the part here, this little Velcro bit. It is tiny. That holds it onto the frame. At the moment the other side hasn't been attached, but the minute that comes off, it all collapses completely. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. There's the bottom of that. It's come down again. There's that bottom bit there doesn't cover the bottom of the inner tent. So it just creates a opportunity for the wind to blow up it, which in British conditions is not ideal. So I'm just trying to fix this again on here, on the other side now. Anyway, I've got to get out and have a look again and see what's going on outside some more. But this isn't particularly heavy wind either, really. Right, let's see if I can catch it happening. So there it is. The wind's blowing against there. Oh, the other side has come down. But there you go, look, it's come off. See that? Right, it's 5:22 in the morning, and here's the tent. Now I've put some extra guy lines on, which here, they're essential, because if you don't have them on, it just collapses. And this is the part I'm talking about. So under here, that opens up fully. Now I've got another thing I can put on here as well. If I do that, it comes out, the wind goes up a bit. So that's just going to stay like that, really. But yeah, I don't know why they just didn't put the extra bit of fly on that. Okay, it's now 5:22 in the morning. Sorry, 5:29, and this is what's happened outside. So you can see that it's collapsed here. The guy lines are on. However, this pole here, once again, collapsed inwards. Now, I've got to just push that round and push it round. There you go, it's up. That will definitely collapse down again. Now, it's windy, but it's not hugely windy for England. I mean, it is windy. There you go. There you go. See? That's what happens. The wind, just before I did that, snapped this part of the frame. So that's this trip over. It's also now damaged the fly sheet, and it's probably damaged some of this. So, well, here we are. It's now, what time is it? It's now 6:25 in the morning. I've had no sleep, and this is what one night in the Nemo has turned into. This is how the tent's ended up. The frame has completely collapsed and snapped. The fly sheet's been ripped by that. The inner has been ripped. I'm now gonna pull it down, head off the mountain, and sleep in the car. Here's the skeleton body. And what you can see here is the actual damage on the pole here. These parts here, which are the Velcro that are supposed to hold the fly sheet to the frame, are just extremely small, as you can see. So first of all, trying to put them together is difficult with cold hands, but secondly, they don't stick very well. It really wouldn't be difficult to extend this out and have a system whereby it comes back on itself and you can pull it a lot tighter, or even just around there. You can see it's come off the seam there. So that's clearly a weak point in this design. And this fly did seem to rely on staying attached to those poles for the poles to stay up. Now, if you notice, it's got the mesh. There's a lot of mesh there, and that means that it is very drafty, due to the design of the fly sheet, which you would have seen in that video. It's got, the great thing about it is it has got these color-coded points at which you put the poles in, and they line up with the colors on the poles themselves. So it's really easy to put the tent together. That end's green, that end's grey. So it's just dead obvious. It didn't take me very long to put that up at all. And here we have the fly sheet. It is thin, but it's apparently, I think it's a 20 denier with a hydrostatic head of 1200. However, from talking to a few different people, it seems that 1200 is one reading, but you need to think about the quality of the material, which will protect you beyond what simply the hydrostatic head will say. What I thought I would do is try and fit over this spare bit of pole. People wonder what this is. This is a spare bit of pole, so that's supposed to help you to repair your tent in an emergency, or whatever you want to call it, so you can continue with your trip. So the problem is, if I snap this together, what you do is you pop it over the top here, slide it on, which is fine, all good, and that continues down. But if I want to repair this point here, even if I try and line this up, the damage to that was, as you can see, it's bent there, so that actually won't move over that pole. So it's a great idea. I understand why they've done it, and it does make sense, but the bent, you know, these poles are apparently, they're supposed to be extremely strong, but this one has bent, and the wind wasn't particularly strong that night. So whether or not it's just this particular pole that's been made this way, or if it's a design flaw, I don't know. I like the guys at Nemo in terms of the way they think about things. However, or the designs rather, they're innovative, but it just feels like this hasn't been fully pulled off in the strongest way it could. I think for me, it's a case of, it's a great idea, but the execution of the tent's design is just not suitable for the UK. And I'll have to be very honest, I just wouldn't recommend it to anybody in the UK, or anyone who is going to face winds of 20 miles per hour plus. It wasn't even raining that night. If it had been raining, I think we could have had significantly more problems. So I hope that this helps some of you in your decision making with the current version as it is, and I hope that this will maybe feed back to Nemo, and you'll look at these issues and address them, because essentially the ideas are great for the tent. The vestibule areas are huge, really like them, the double door entries, and all the little storage pockets. The frame, the way it holds the inner up vertically, gives you loads of headspace. So yeah,
Cheers.